The interview that I did was from a person born in 1976. And the generation was much different than it was now. The generation that in 1976 was the thought was the husband goes to work and the wife stays home and takes care of the children and cooks and cleans and takes care of the husband after he works because he brings home the money and helps pay the bills. Since the generation has changed, now both parents are having to work since everything costs so much more money. Both parents work, and the chores of the household chores have to be split. So both parents have to bring home the money to pay the bills. So that's how much our generation has changed since 1976. The roles are switched. Sometimes the father ends up staying home because the mother makes more money, maybe can be more successful than the father, and the father will take over the role of taking care of the children and the house. And sometimes both parents have to work and children have to go to a child care center. Sometimes child care centers are too expensive, and one of the parents will have to stay home with one of the children. And that is also an option, too. Sometimes the parents are unable to take care of the children or the house, and grandparents end up getting custody, or aunts and uncles. So then the roles change again. They won't have the same things that they had in the 1970s. Different people take on different roles. Sometimes we have single moms or even single fathers who have to take on both roles by themselves. And sometimes we have grandparents who end up getting custody of their grandkids. Maybe the mom and dad have passed away, or they're in trouble with addiction or in jail. So grandparents end up taking over the role of parents, and sometimes they will have to work while also getting their Social Security, but it might not be enough money. So the grandparents will have to work to support the family of all the needs. So gender roles have changed quite a bit since the 1970s. There are many different things that are different. Children are having to go to school or daycare earlier than kindergarten. So it's changed a lot over the years. And like I said, the father might have to stay home because the mother makes more money, or maybe the mother will decide to stay home because the father makes more money. Sometimes you have families that move in with their grandparents because they're not able to take care of the bills plus the children while trying to work, and it's just not enough money sometimes. So they might move in with their parents to help with childcare, because sometimes childcare is very expensive for some people, and maybe both parents working still don't make enough money to pay childcare. So other people have to take on the roles of parenting the children and using what resources they have to take care of the children with housing, food, and electricity, and other things that the family needs. You might have aunts and uncles that have to take over the roles of the children. Maybe the aunt and uncle will both be working, and that child will have to attend school earlier than kindergarten, since the aunt or the uncle might not be able to stay home with the child. So they both have to work to support the children and all the things that they need. So gender roles have changed quite a bit since the 1970s. They no longer believe that women should be the ones that have to stay home and cook and clean and take care of the children. Now it's anybody who is in that child's life could stay home. It could be the mother, it could be the father, grandparents, aunts, uncles, anybody that is in the family might end up staying home, or the child will have to go to daycare. So now things are definitely different. We have parents that work, have both parents that have to work. Not one parent is expected to stay home, no matter what their gender is. It doesn't have to be the woman who stays home. It could be the man. It could be the grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever is in charge of the family or bringing in the money. Or maybe one of them has to stay home because childcare is too expensive. And it could either be the male or the female that decides to stay home, depending on what the income ratio is. If one person makes more money than the other, then it's more important for the person who makes the most money to work, obviously. So it's not a specific gender that stays home with the children or a specific gender that is expected to work. It could be either gender, or either family member. It could be grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, whoever has the family in their care. So it doesn't matter if maybe they have two grandmothers raising a child. Either one of them could work, or an aunt and uncle, or cousins. Maybe we have co-parenting that happens a lot. So maybe both the parents will work because they're both running a single household. We have step parents. There could be a stepmom or a stepfather, and one of them will have to work, but they're not expected for it to be the male or the female. It could be either gender that decides to work or decides to stay home, depending on the income. So definitely has changed since the 1970s. They have made it so it is definitely one gender or the other that will stay home or that will work. Or we have it so that both families will work. So that's how I feel like the gender roles have changed. It can be either gender or family member that decides to stay home.